You are listening to Real Career Talk, the podcast. I'm your host, Sherry Sims, founder of Black Career Women's Network, where career empowerment is our focus and helping you to thrive professionally is our purpose. You are listening to episode 14, and today I'm going to be talking about skills necessary to get ahead no matter what industry you work in. Thank you for listening to episode 14. Today I'm going to be talking about actual skills that you need to get ahead no matter what industry you work in. So there are some basic skill sets that are necessary in the workplace, and these are ones that will set you apart from others. Developing these specific skill sets will allow you to excel in your current role. It also will allow you to excel in your career, but also help you to build credibility in your industry. So let's go ahead and start and talk about which skill sets you need. We're going to start with number one, which is adaptability. Adaptability is number one specifically because of, organizations want you to be able to be a cultural fit. The number one thing that they look for outside of your skill sets when they interview you is to see if you're going to be a fit for their culture. And in order for you to be able to be a good fit for their culture, there's a couple of things you need to think about on your end as well as theirs to make sure that's going to happen. From the organization's perspective, you need to have adaptability in order to adjust to their particular environment. Here's the deal. When you go into a workplace environment, you need to be looking for the hidden workplace rules and what are the norms. If you're able to identify what those norms and hidden workplace rules are pretty quickly, then you're probably going to be able to adapt. Now, here's the thing. You will also be able to adapt fairly quickly if those norms and if the norms and the hidden workplace rules, along with the company's culture, overall culture, or their mission and values, are in alignment with yours. Let's say it again. If the organization's values are in alignment with yours, you'll probably be able to adapt fairly quickly. Where the challenges come in is where, how they run things with the norms and hidden workplace rules go against your values and your principles, then that's where the challenges will lie. Or maybe if the work is too intense, or maybe the workload is just too heavy. But those are just things that can be worked through. So adaptability is something that it's going to be important for not only the organization, but for you to be able to at least find a place where you can actually maintain and survive within that workplace culture. Number two, communication and follow up. These two are very important specifically for your credibility, how you communicate, and of course, how you follow up. If you follow up very timely, it definitely builds to your credibility and what people will speak and say about you when you're not in the room. And also your communication. How do you communicate? Do you communicate with emotions? Or are you very aloof? Are you very clear and concise? In your follow-up, all those things are a combination of what's very important in terms of how they see you, how they look at your work ethic, how the level of respect that they show you in terms of your communication and your follow-up as well. Number three is emotional intelligence. Are you managing your emotions in the workplace? Do you get upset by every little thing? Or are you thinking clearly and strategically about how you resolve conflict in your environment? So those things are important as well. Martha Stewart said one time on The Apprentice when she was hosting it or when she was on there, she said, there is no room for women to cry in business. Well, I also think there's no room for women to cry at work. However, it doesn't mean you can't go into your office and behind closed doors and shed a tear or two or go to the bathroom. But when you come out of those spaces, you better come out of there with some composure. So I think it's important to understand that emotional intelligence is very important. And it's not just about managing your emotions, but it also is about, the communication piece too, and how you go about making sure that you are getting what you need from that perspective of being able to manage all of that. The next one is industry knowledge. How well do you know your stuff? How well do you know the trends in your industry? How well do you know what's going on in terms of your line of business or what you're doing? And how are you staying abreast of what's going on in your industry? Are you doing that through training, through classes, through webinars, through podcasts? How are you staying abreast of what's hot in trending in your specific industry? And those things are very important to be able to understand. The next one is critical thinking. Okay. How are you able to think through conflict? Are you able to, or if you get to a place in your workload where you hit a snag or a challenge, or maybe something that's actually stopping your project in its tracks and you can't go any further until you actually figure that out. How are you resolving conflict? Are you managing your emotions and keeping your cool in doing that? Or, what are you doing specifically in terms of being able to make sure that you maybe bring other people onto the project to help you resolve the conflict? Are you getting advice from other people that you need, or utilizing resources you need to resolve the conflict? So critical thinking, conflict resolution, kind of both in the same category in terms of being able to, can you resolve problems, and can you, how critical and quick can you think on your feet with resources to keep things moving? And then the last one is being a relationship builder. This was hugely important, probably should be number one. These are not in any order in terms of from number one to the last, but relationship building is huge. If you are unable to build relationships in your workplace with, key influencers, if you don't have a mentor or a sponsor, you really need to reevaluate what are you trying to do in your career. Those relationships are hugely important. If people like you at work, they're genuinely going to help you if they like you. But if they don't know you and you're not allowing yourself to be for someone to know you, you are blocking off a part of your professional growth that is important for you to create the trajectory you're looking for. So relationship building is hugely important when it comes to having the skills necessary to move forward in your industry. And making sure that you're not only building relationships within your organization, but you are building relationships with people in your industry overall. So let's look at the bigger picture here, and not just of what's in front of you, but what could be outside of what's in front of you that can actually help you to evolve and grow into what you possibly could envision for yourself down the road. So let's recap what the basic skills necessary are to actually move ahead in your industry. Adaptability, number one. Communication follow-up is number two. Number three, emotional intelligence. Number four, industry knowledge. Do you know your stuff? Number five, critical thinking, conflict resolution. Those are important. And then, of course, last but never least, and probably most the number one, which is relationship building. So I hope that these are very, very helpful to you. And thank you for listening, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spreaker, or SoundCloud, and take a few minutes to rate our show. We would love to know what you think about our show. And if you have any ideas about maybe a topic, tweet that out to me at BCW Network CEO and ask me a question. I'll probably may answer it on the next podcast. So again, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you all on the next Real Career Talk, the podcast.